Hello, we are back on the Coaches Dugout podcast, the podcast for coaches by coaches. I'm Shasi. I am your host, and this is the LCS special. And this is episode number 2. In episode number 1, we spoke to the football or the sporting director of the club, Badri Gen. And today, likewise, we're going to speak to someone very important at the club, a vital cog in the machine that is the LCS. And we are going to talk a little bit more about sports science today, and I think in today's context, in today's professional football, it is a big thing, and here in Singapore as well, it is growing, and we want to get to know more about that, and this is where we will talk about that. Now, in the studio today, or not the studio, is we are actually at the Mata Road facility here at the LCS headquarters. We are so happy to welcome Mr. Firdaus Maasar, the football physiologist at the club. Welcome, Firdaus.
Yeah, thank you, Sashi.
Firstly, Firdaus, how has it been so far at the LCS? I think you've been here for how long?
1 year now.
1 year? So how has your experience been like?
It's good. I feel like come back to home for after a long time spending time outside.
Yeah.
It was 7 years in the UK, 2 years in Qatar, and now in Singapore for 1 year. Because the people here just like people in my hometown.
Yeah.
You know.
Tell us, where's your hometown, by the way?
Okay, I'm Malaysian.
Yeah.
Born in Johor, but brought up in Negeri Sembilan.
Okay.
Most of the time. So yeah, I'm Malaysian, but in Singapore, everything more or less the same. The people is the same. The food.
Yeah.
So just feel like home.
Beautiful. Now, Firdaus, let's get stuck in, right?
Mm-hmm.
First up, your role or your designation is football physiologist, right? Tell us, what does a football physiologist do at a club, at a football club especially?
Okay. It's interesting because whenever you say about a physiologist, people gonna be misunderstood, like say, oh, you're the one who do all the massage and everything. Oh no, I'm physiologist, not physiotherapist. So yeah, so if we talk about on the clinical setup, the physiologist normally is the person that going to prepare all the or prescribe the training for the patient,
Right.
Prescribe the exercise for the patient,
Right.
And when it come to the football club, more or less the same. So my role is more or less using all the data that we have to help all the coaches, all the technical staff, the fitness coach, the medical department, in terms of how we prescribe the training for the players individually and also as a group in the team level.
It's very interesting you talk about data, because it's so huge in a professional setup.
Yep.
Okay, and I can only tell you from experience, it's very new here in Singapore. Okay, in terms of data and collecting it. Now, you spoke about data. What kind of data do you collect? And you talk about individual players as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of data do you collect from these players?
Okay, start if we have the morning training, for example. So we start in very early morning.
Okay.
So they will get the link for them to fill in the wellness score. So from there I will get the score for player readiness. So whenever the number is alarming,
Okay.
so I will let the medical department, our head of medical visa, to know about these players.
This is before the training session?
Before the training.
Okay.
Yeah. Then this is more or less about the preparation to make sure that all the players are fresh.
Okay.
They are ready for the training.
Yeah.
So if we have 1 or 2 players are reporting the numbers not on the threshold, then I'll send to Visa to make a further checkup. Then Visa will give the thumbs up or not for them to train.
I see.
So that's before the training.
Okay.
And during the training we have the GPS system.
Okay.
This is the physical data that we collect every day.
Okay.
And this is become when we say about the individual data, because individual data is very important. You cannot set the one threshold for all the players. They have their own maximum that they can hit. So based on the historical data, based on the analysis that I do, then we set the threshold for the players based on the day type of the training and the week type of the training. So maybe it's more
Yeah.
specific when I say about day type, week type. So, but maybe we need another podcast for that one.
I think so. But listen, this is so fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, and again, this is why this podcast is here. You know, it is coaches education, by the way. And this is very interesting because you talk about the data and we talk about the levels before training.
Yeah.
So what kind of levels are we talking? Okay, let's say if a player is not ready,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of levels are you hitting? What is it? Just give me an example.
So the wellness questionnaire that they have in
Okay.
the morning is we ask about the fatigue level that they have.
Okay.
Or how they perceive the fatigue.
Okay.
How they perceive the soreness, muscle soreness,
Right.
and also about the sleep quality. It's
Okay.
not the sleep hours. It can be players sleep 10 hours,
Yeah.
but they wake up every
True,
2 hours.
true.
Okay, so it's more about the quality. So mainly we look at the fatigue and the soreness. So when the player is reporting the soreness, when the numbers are high, then we know that the soreness towards the pain. So it can come from the training from the day before
Yeah.
or 2 days before.
Yeah.
Especially when we have the strength training, then we want to know whether it's a pain or it's a soreness. You know?
Right.
So this is really important, so that from there, whether if we have the clearance from the medical department, then we know whether we need to control the load a little bit. So instead of they join the full training,
Yeah.
so this player just join the first 2 parts of the training because the last part may be a bit high intensity.
Right.
You know, so this type of the level that we implement here in the LCS.
Again, it's you know, and we talk about this, and we're going to get to that a little bit later on as well.
Mhm.
It is new here in Singapore. I can say it right at you. A few years back, it's never going to happen this way. You train the same way every single day.
Yeah.
You know, it's not individually prescribed. It's, you know, there you go. You train, you join the team, and that's it for the 2 hours.
I was there because I was a player as well
Yeah.
before, so I played until under 19 with Negeri Sembilan.
Right.
So I know what was back then.
Exactly,
How
exactly.
we-
And it's also very important that you know, and then you can advise the coach, because we want to know how it affects the coaches as well, the head coach as well. So this is then the information is then brought to the coach, and then the coach says, yeah, okay, we are gonna, you know.
Yeah, it's in our setup. Normally, coach will ask whether most of the time, my role, because we have every day I will have the discussion about the data, me and Mario, the head of performance.
Yes.
Then we set all this target, and normally Mario will speak to the head coach in terms of what is the target, whether the drill today we need to put it down a little bit, or you can push a bit more.
Right.
Which players can do more and do less. So towards the end of the training session, normally the head coach will come to me and ask, if it else, can we push more, or we need to stop, or so. Normally players, when they are too tired, they will look at me. If it doesn't, when you want to stop the session, you know. So that's how the data is important in our setup at the moment. Everyone is looking to it from the player level and also the coach level.
You're very right, because this can prevent injuries as well. Prevent injuries, and you know, obviously with the consultation with FISA and the coach as well, it's very important, this relationship. It's very important. How important is your we talk about perceived level,
Okay,
right? How do you perceive your role in terms of importance to the club?
in terms of my role as a senior physiologist at the club now, I think it's the same as a medical department, it's same as the head of performance, fitness coach, or whatever you call it. So we have our own role, on which I think everyone is important, and from my side is to support all these coaches. It's a bit unique because I'll support each individual with the data, just to make sure that we can make the decision in terms of the training. So to be honest, I'm very, let's say that me and Mario in the performance department, we are proud that now the data driven culture is here in the LCS, on which this is what we planned before. So before I arrive here, I think that this is going to be a challenge, because different people come from different background, you know, to convince them this is not an easy job, but Alhamdulillah, today is we
It's a good point that you brought up because it's about change. It's embracing change. Was it difficult here at LCS? Do you think?
To be honest, with the local coaches here, I think have been privileged that they are very receptive. They're open to learn new things. And I think that you have a very good coaches and technical person here in Singapore. The thing is about just to develop in terms of exposure outside, and then maybe that's again this about privilege, or maybe you have the chance to go outside and you will learn more. But here in terms of, if you talk about the depth of the knowledge, theoretically, I can see a lot of people know a lot of things, but maybe you need to polish a bit in terms of the applied setting.
Application.
The application, So the rest you just need to polish.
It's actually a very important thing, right? Because it's theory, but to apply it comes with experience. And I think that is very important. It's a very good point. I want to ask you this as well, a personal question. How strict are you?
Me?
As in you know. Okay, let's say you get a player who's, I don't know, he may have had a bad day, a bad night.
Okay.
Didn't sleep well or whatever. But it's not because he's disciplined or whatever, right? And then these are all perceived levels. I didn't sleep well. I'm having a muscle ache because I don't feel like training today. I just say, can you like have you ever like be strict on that player and say I don't think so? You know, that kind of thing, because it's so easy. It's perception.
That's a good question. That's back to your point before, when the relationship between me and the players is really important. So when you have a good relationship with the players will be honest with you. You know, they're just not giving all the ridiculous numbers just to skip the training.
True.
You know, that's why on my level I'm not the one who give the thumbs up or not for them to train. That's why I send them to the medical department to decide whether they're okay to train or not. So that's a process, the SOPs that we have, and
Nice. Because this question just suddenly came up to me because I'm handling kids in school and stuff like that. They'll try anything, my friend.
Oh, of course. The kids will always try the water over there.
Exactly. Now, we move on a little bit, and not many people know, or in fact, by now, many people will know that Firdaus once had a stint at Liverpool Football Club. Okay, let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, how did you get that gig?
Okay, so after my undergraduate in Malaysia, after 5 years working in Malaysia, decided to pursue my study in the UK. So I spent 7 years in the UK. Did my masters in Birmingham University. That's where it started, which I got the internship with Wolverhampton Wanderers at the beginning. And pursued my study at the Liverpool John Moss University.
Right.
Okay. So Liverpool John Moss University is the university that well known with their football and science program. So football, science and football research and everything. So they have this department, we call it football exchange. So this department is the department that gives all the sports science support to the team in the English league, including Everton, United, Liverpool. Back then they also have sports science support for Madrid. And happened to be in 2016-17, I've been chosen to be one of the group that giving the sports science support for Liverpool FC.
And one of the top students, my friend.
I'm not saying, maybe because of the experience with Wolverhampton Wanderers. So maybe that's one of the reasons why they chose me. And from 2017 season until season 2019-20, they asked me to lead the sports science team from John Moss, Liverpool University, to give the sports science support. So most of the time we spend the time in Melwood training ground during the pre-season, especially the first week of the pre-season. That's the most busiest week for the fitness testing. So we administer all the testing. So I will do all the analysis because we're collecting the blood. So blood analysis and everything. I'll give the numbers to the sports science department. And throughout the season, there will be all the discussion between the sports science department with me, and also I'm helping out with the research process in the club as well. So that's more or less.
How was the experience like? Was it?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's, to be honest, to see all these top players before your eyes, and for me, I'm collecting the blood from the earlobe, so maybe that's the most expensive thing I've ever touched in my life, you know.
For the earlobe, yeah.
So there's millionaires.
The closest you got to a player, man. Wow. Were you starstruck as well? I would be, man.
Yes, of course. I was there on the first day of Mo Salah was there.
Brilliant.
It's unbelievable.
And again, we're not talking about Liverpool and whatever. If you're talking about the and it's a very good point that you brought up. And I'm just thinking again, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the theory stuff that you know and whatever, but it's the practicing part, you know, and it comes with the experience, you know.
Sure.
I want to ask you a question as well, and LCS and wherever, right? How do you convince a coach that this is important? This is the way to go, you know? Because we talk about old school coaches and all.
Yeah.
You're never going to listen to someone talking about biomechanics and all this stuff, you know, lactate levels and whatever, right? So how do you convince?
Yeah, that's a very good point because that's another skill that as a sports scientist, I think we really need to have, which is a soft skill, the way that you approach the coach. Like you said, all the old school coaches, they're not used to all these sports science things, you know. So they're not their mistake because they brought it on that era, you know. But for me, it's a mistake if they don't want to hear as well. Okay, if you don't want to learn the new things, maybe that's something that you need to change. But on my side, normally I will make sure that I will try our best to make sure that put me on his shoes and how he's normally being approached. But because sometimes all the coaches can be very defensive about their methodology.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So I've been doing this without GPS for many years. So why now you bring the GPS? You know? So you need to come again slowly and give the reason behind it, why we need it, why it's important. Like I said, when I arrived here, this is not in place, but it takes me around 3-4 months to be honest, to convince the coaches.
And you talk about convincing a coach and what have you, right? Then we talk about the data as well, and that's good. Is there an example that you can give me, right? Like you've done all this, you collected data and you've given to the coach and it's worked during game day. Like has it ever happened and you think, oh, this has definitely helped? So
to be honest, if during the match day, I'll be on the bench,
right,
doing all the live monitoring.
Okay.
So if you see me with the iPad, I'm not watching the YouTube.
Not watching Netflix, huh?
Not watching Netflix or YouTube, the live broadcast. No, I'm doing my GPS.
I'm disappointed you're not listening to me on YouTube.
That's a live monitoring for more GPS data. So based on the numbers of the match that we have at the moment, this allow me to do all this analysis. We call it worst case scenario from the match. So from the volume and intensity metrics. So more or less now we know when the players hit the certain metrics, that means the player is already on their 100%.
Okay.
So that's the time to bring in the new fresh leg. Okay. So it can be two situations. When you do the substitution, it can be tactical for the tactical.
Yes.
So it's open for the coach to do that. But if you want to bring the fresh leg, so this is the players that you can consider to bring up. So I just give the data. This is the players that already hit, but the decisions come from the head coach.
Interesting. This is interesting. You know, because again, you see with the data and the analysis, you're never gonna get that before. It's all based on perception. This guy is struggling because he's adjusting his socks. I know, because when I was a player before, once I start adjusting my socks at the 60th or 70th minute, I'm tired, man. I'm gone. You know, so it's all based on perception. But now you've got the data. Here, coach, you have it. He's tired. He's gone. Right. So it's up to the coach to
decide. So because for me, the perception without the data, without any evidence base, is just just your opinion. This is nothing more than that.
Nice. Now listen, you guys have gone on and probably way ahead in terms of that part. You know, the sports science part and whatever, right? Do you think LCS as a club and yourself as well, because you're heading the department and what have you, can you elevate the football, not only LCS in Singapore, with whatever you are doing, is there an avenue where you can share this, not the resources and the secrets, but share the kind of stuff that you have with the other clubs and I don't know, the SPL and stuff like that? Is there a way for you guys to share?
I think the only way that I can see at the moment how we can share all this, especially the transfer of knowledge, is really important.
Okay.
So it can be come from the seminar or the courses, the sharing between the clubs.
Yeah.
Because in Europe this is normal. So you have all these courses and everything on which all the coaches will collect their CPD hours, because we need to complete our CPD hours in one season. So there's courses on this club talking about nutrition for next 3 weeks. So you have to sign up, you go there, then we share.
So there's nothing to hide. There's no secrets between clubs.
Yeah, because whatever we have here and what we can do here in LCS is based on resources that we have.
Correct.
So maybe in the other club they have some limitation.
Yeah.
You know, that then they will do things differently. And we can learn as well from them in terms of how you can work with all these limitations. You know, so it's no wrong or right. For example, for the fitness test, the easiest example, there's a lot of fitness tests that you can do. So it doesn't mean that you have to do yo-yo tests every season. For example, for all the club, right? For me, I'm like to do lactate threshold test, for example, for my players, because I have the idea behind it.
Yeah.
But if you make it yo-yo test for every place, then I will not do my lactate threshold test, because it's going to be 2 tests for the players. It's unnecessary for the players during the pre-season. So this may be some ideas that we can share, and we can talk about the idea behind it, because this is a first team, especially on the first team level. You have to keep it open, just to make sure that your technical stuff in the SPL can grow. You know, so
I'm very fascinated with this, the fitness testing, and you talk about the yo-yo test and what have you. Before we had the beep test.
Beep test. Okay.
We're talking about the S League, right? Before, and then it went to the 2.4 test.
Yeah, the Cooper test. Yeah.
It wasn't even the Cooper test. It was a
2.4.
It's typical 2.4 test. And then now I think it's the yo-yo test. Okay, when I was playing, it was the beep test, right? So I'm very fascinated with this. Okay, so I'm asking you in terms of football-wise, football-specific, right? What is I don't think there's a best test, right? There's no like, okay, this is the best test for football fitness testing, right? But in your eyes, what is the best one that you can do? Like you said, the lactate threshold test, right? Okay, for the viewers, for the coaches, and I'm sure some coaches know, and I did sports science as well. What is the lactate threshold test?
So the lactate threshold test is the test to see your lactate level,
the build-up
until where that the lactate build up until the threshold, which is 4 millimole.
Okay.
So you can marry that with all the speed that they stop, because based on the calculation and analysis you do, you will see, or you can do based on the protocol as well, because there's a lot of different protocol. So you will know that the speed of that 4 millimole at the heart rate of the players on that 4 millimole. That's why we use GPS here. So we monitor the heart rate as well. So you can use it as the training zone for the players. So again, there's an individual training zone for the players. So when you prescribe the training, you can use this zone as the training zone for the players. For example, during the preseason, for example. So this is the build up of the preseason, because obviously players will go for holiday during off season.
So you need to do a progressive load.
So you need to know where's the zone that we can push them from.
It's very interesting. So go coaches and whoever's watching this, and you're watching this as well, go check it out. I think it's very interesting. Sports science is you can never go.
That's nice about sports science, because it's science, it's evolved, you know. So whatever we apply today could be different in 5 years time.
True.
So it's debatable, always debatable. So when I say about lactate threshold test, maybe some of the sports scientists say like, no, I'm prefer for yo-yo test, because we have a sub-maximal yo-yo test that we can do throughout the season. So it's no wrong or right for me.
Because at the end of the day, whatever works for the club, for the team, the resources, like you said, whatever works for you. And again, I always go back to this. I think every club here in Singapore should be responsible for their own players, for their own players' fitness and well-being. It's simple as that.
Definitely.
You know, there's no one size fits all kind of thing where you just do a 2.4 and whatever. Okay, that's my opinion, by the way. We go on a little bit, right? How young should you expose sports science to kids? At what level? Like in terms of testing or whatever, you know, or maybe monitoring?
It's normally in the academy setup, when we talk about football, normally the elite will start from 13 years old,
Okay.
12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
That's where, again, based on the resources you have, you can start to monitor the players since this age, on which it will help you in terms of the player profiling as well.
Okay.
When you talk about sports science, it's also involved in terms of nutrition, for example. Okay, and for the kids on the academy level, it's really important to involve the parents as well. When we talk about the food, because yes, you can teach them about what you have to eat, what you should avoid, but at home there's the mom who cook.
True.
Or the helpers who cook.
True.
And there's no choice. You know?
True.
So you have to involve the parents in all of this knowledge transfer to the players and the parents. Same goes to that. There's a lot more monitoring in the academy level, to be honest, because I was 2 years in Aspire Academy before in Qatar before I joined LCS. So collecting a lot more data, to be honest, because all these players will reach of their PHV, peak high velocity, on which the players with pre-PHV, during PHV and post-PHV, they should have a different type of training.
Okay.
Especially when you talk about the strength training, for example. So how you monitor is really important, but the most important thing is you have to have the very strong base and the clean. Again, the data. You need the clean data.
Right.
So
How young can you go with weight training for kids?
it's again, this is debatable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of research saying that the younger the better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
But to be safe, I think most of the academies we approach this strength training. We start with the body weight and progressively go since they are 14, 15 years old.
Right.
Then start with more heavy load towards youth category, 17, 18s. But it depends on, and again, this depends on the PHV, because the high velocity means that the players that grow abnormally for the past 12 months, more than 9.5 centimeters, for example.
Okay.
So how you monitor this? That means you need to take the height every month.
Wow.
Every month, okay, without fail.
Okay.
Then only you can compare
Yes.
today and the last
Yes.
12 months.
Yes.
Okay, that's why I said there's more things to monitor on the academy level.
Right.
Then based on that, you can prescribe the specific training for the players.
Firdaus, you're right, man. When you first said it at the beginning of the podcast, that we need like 10, 20 episodes of this, because it's amazing, right? And each episode you can just concentrate on one aspect. It's brilliant, and I love it, you know. And some people love it, some people don't. They find it too dry, the topic and stuff like that. But this is amazing. Now, just moving ahead, Firdaus, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Like I don't know, just looking ahead, and do you think? I think that I know the answer in that sense, that it is here to stay. Sports science and physiology and whatever, it's here to stay, and it's evolving, like you said, right?
Yep.
How do you see this going in 5 years' time? For example, in 5 years' time, like you know, the sports science part of it, you know, and is it going to make players even like monsters, like machines, you know? And one monster is Haaland, right? Like right now. So do you see that?
Yeah, if we start at a young age, this is possible, because I know that Singapore, you aim for World Cup 2034, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know think about that, but
okay. So never say never for this one.
Okay.
Because I saw this improvement in Doha, in Qatar, on which they have the same challenge, the food, for example.
Okay.
Because in this region, we have the best food in the world, I think. The most tasty, okay? You have all the best food, but it's not for athletes.
It is the best, but not the best in terms of nutrition and stuff.
So that's a challenge. Same goes when I was in Qatar. So the nutrition is different.
Okay.
So again, when you start at a young age, it's all about education to the players and also the parents, and also knowing about all the challenge that you have here. Especially, I hope it's a bit sensitive, but I think in terms of the progression, I think in the future, maybe we can consider about the players, that potential players be exempted from the NS.
Okay.
For example. Okay. Because 2 years without football, then you want to come back. Okay. After 2 years, maybe a lot of challenge on that.
And obviously, you're not speaking. You're just speaking purely based on the physiological aspects, nothing else. And of course, and a lot of us will agree with that. It's a no-brainer actually, because obviously, if you get out of football for 2 years, you're gone. You finish, right? Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that. So that is one of the main challenges. You say the food part here. Let's take Singapore for example, right? What do you see as the challenges in terms of the physiological part? Food. That's the main one.
Food, one thing. The second thing is the weather here. We are hot, humid.
Okay.
And to be honest, I'm not a fan of 5:30 kickoff. To be honest.
Okay.
Because it's very very hot and humid. This is fine if we have the halftime drink break.
Okay.
Like we have last season.
Oh, during the game.
During the game.
Okay. Yeah.
Like last season.
Okay.
But without that, I think it's a bit tricky for the players because. Back to the data, we collected the body weight of the players before the match and after the match. Okay. Some players lost around 3 kilos and at 1.4 kilos just water. That means there's increased the risk of injury.
And there is a difference between that and a 7:45 kickoff.
Yeah, it can be both. Yeah. But most of the time when we have the 5:30 kickoff, there's loss of the body water is a lot.
Right.
So this is based on the data that we have here in LCS for some players.
Nice.
So like I said, it is based on the data. I'm not drawing my opinion without the data.
Right. How about mentality? Obviously, you're not working with players' mentality, right? But do you think that's a major problem here in Singapore?
It's not a problem. That's the challenge that we have to work as a team because especially when for the LCS this season or on all the team, I believe we have 4 rounds. Yeah. 4 rounds. So you face the same team for 3 times, plus the Singapore Cup. Yeah. And also I think to make sure that the players are fresh and fit week in week out. That's another challenge. You know, how to motivate the players to make sure that they're still on the same level every week. That's really challenging because we are working with a human. You know, that's back to the theory that I said. All the theory that we have in the book, that's for the best case scenario. When we come to applied setup, you work with human, then everything can be in a different way. You know?
Exactly, brilliant. This has been brilliant. Before we go, Firdaus, any advice for someone who wants to become a sports physiologist? Firstly, to top the class like you did, go to Wolves and Liverpool and have the experiences that you've done. Do you have any advice for these? Someone who's interested.
Yep. It's not gonna have just a general advice in terms of on top of you excel on your theory. Again, the practical side is really important. So I would suggest all the sports science student out there, just looking for the internship if you can, or be a volunteer to all the sports organization. It's not just in football. It can be basketball or all other sports, Olympic sports. You have SSI, for example. That maybe you can approach. So by the time you graduate, you graduate with experience. So that's really important to have it in your CV.
Brilliant, you know? brilliant advice. And at the end of the day, people who's watching this, it's about the application. You know, theory is one thing. Obviously, you can be top in the class, right? But it's the application, and of course, you talk about NS, right? You miss 2 years. It's same thing with this. When you do graduate after you get your degree, and then you don't do it for 2 years, you just forget everything. Yeah. And that's what I've done, by the way. You know, with sports science and stuff. Firdaus, it has been an absolutely brilliant episode of the LCS special, and thank you for taking time off to be with me. I know it's been a long time coming, but totally enjoyed this episode, Firdaus.
Thank you, Sashi. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
No worries. This has been the LCS special episode number 2. Do check us out. We are out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the works. And till the next episode for episode number 3 for the LCS special, this has been the Coaches Dugout podcast. Cheers. Thank you.